I had always prided myself on being loyal. To my girlfriend, Emma, especially. We'd been together for 4 years, and despite the usual ups and downs, I had never given her a reason to doubt me. I loved her. Deeply, completely, without reservation. Or so I thought. Then came the weekend that changed everything. Emma's sister, Claudia, came to stay with us. She had that rare combination of charm and allure that made people notice her without even trying. Claudia was married, yes, but her marriage had always been strained, at least according to the little snippets of gossip she casually dropped. She had a way of walking into a room and drawing all attention, but what caught me off guard wasn't her beauty, it was how she looked at me. It started subtly, almost innocently. A lingering glance as she laughed at something I said, a hand brushing mine just a fraction too long when we passed the salted dinner. At first, I shrugged it off, telling myself I was imagining things. After all, I was a faithful man, right? But faithfulness isn't always enough when desire starts whispering in your ear. The first night she stayed, we were all in the living room, Emma reading a book on the sofa while Claudia and I chatted across the coffee table. Her voice was soft, almost intimate, and there was a teasing edge to the way she looked at me. When she laughed, her hand brushed my knee. My heart jumped. I pulled back slightly, but Claudia didn't. She just leaned in closer, letting her fingers linger just a second too long. I told myself, it's nothing. She's just friendly. But deep down, I felt the tension. I felt the electricity. By the second night, the boundaries blurred further. Emma had gone to bed early, tired from a long day at work. Claudia asked me to help her with a problem in the kitchen. I found myself standing close to her, our bodies just a hair's breadth apart as I showed her how to fix the stubborn dishwasher. She leaned in under the pretense of needing to see better, and our eyes locked. "Why do I feel like you're teasing me?" I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Claudia smiled, that slow, sultry smile that made my chest tighten. "Maybe I am," she whispered, so close I could feel her breath. "But maybe you're enjoying it too much." My pulse raced. I had never been in a situation like this. Loyalty screamed at me to pull away, to leave the room and run back to Emma. But my body betrayed me. I felt drawn to Claudia in ways I didn't expect, ways I tried to deny. The next few days were a dangerous dance. Every conversation with her carried a subtle tension. Every accidental touch felt intentional. Emma remained oblivious, absorbed in work and her usual routines. But I knew the storm was building, and soon it would break. Then it happened. It was late one night, and Claudia claimed she couldn't sleep. She wandered into the living room where I was watching TV. She looked vulnerable, almost childlike, and my instincts kicked in. "Can I sit with you for a bit?" she asked softly. I nodded, and she sat down beside me. The silence stretched for a moment, heavy and loaded with something neither of us wanted to name. Then, almost impossibly, she leaned her head against my shoulder. My mind screamed at me to stop, to remind myself of Emma, of loyalty, of everything sacred. But my body, it didn't listen. We sat there for hours, our heads close together, hands brushing. I felt her warmth, smelled her perfume, tasted the forbidden thrill of wanting something I couldn't have. The first kiss was inevitable. It started as a whisper, almost a mistake, but it ignited everything. Our lips met, hesitant at first, then with growing hunger. My loyalty, my principles, my love for Emma, they all clashed violently with the desire consuming me. By morning, I knew nothing would ever be the same. Claudia smiled at me, triumphant and seductive, as if she knew the battle had been won. And yet, I couldn't hate her. I hated myself more. The morning after that kiss, reality hit me like a punch in the gut. I woke up in my own bed, alone, and the memory of Claudia's touch haunted me. I knew what we did was wrong. So incredibly wrong. But I couldn't shake the exhilaration, the fire it had sparked inside me. Emma greeted me as usual, cheerful and unsuspecting. I forced a smile, masking the guilt clawing at my chest. I kept replaying every moment with Claudia in my mind, trying to convince myself it was just a fleeting mistake. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. Claudia, of course, acted as if nothing had happened. She moved around the apartment with her usual charm, laughing, teasing, and brushing against me whenever she could. Every glance, every smile, every innocent touch made it harder to resist. I found myself watching her when Emma wasn't looking, caught in a dangerous daydream of forbidden encounters. One evening, the tension reached a new level. Emma had gone out to a work dinner and Claudia was helping me reorganize the bookshelf. We stood shoulder to shoulder, reaching for books at the same time. Our hands touched. "I can't stop thinking about last night," she whispered, almost too softly for me to hear. I froze. My heart raced. "Claudia, we can't, Emma." She pressed a finger to my lips, silencing me. Don't talk about her. Just feel this moment." And I did. I felt it. The heat, the desire, the reckless abandon that I knew would lead to ruin. Our lips met again, this time with more urgency. Hands explored, boundaries faded, and every moral line I'd drawn dissolved in the fire between us. Days passed, and our secret affair grew more intense. We stole moments wherever we could, kitchen counters, empty hallways, even brief touches in crowded rooms. The thrill of secrecy made everything more intoxicating. But along with the pleasure came guilt, and I felt like I was slowly tearing myself apart. I began avoiding Emma, finding excuses to spend time with Claudia. Every time she laughed at one of my jokes or leaned in close, I felt both alive and damned. I tried to rationalize it, telling myself that Claudia was unhappy in her marriage, that she needed me. But deep down, I knew I was falling into a dangerous spiral of betrayal that could destroy everyone I cared about. Then came the night that changed everything. Emma had planned a small family dinner at her parents' house, and Claudia insisted on helping me cook beforehand. We were alone in the kitchen, preparing the meal, and the air was thick with tension. She leaned over to taste something I was stirring, and I caught the scent of her perfume. It was intoxicating, overwhelming. My hands brushed hers, and we froze for a moment, eyes locking. I can't stop," she murmured, her lips dangerously close to mine. I wanted to stop, I really did. But my body betrayed me, leaning toward her, drawn like a moth to a flame. Our lips met, again, with an urgency that startled even us. Suddenly, the kitchen door swung open. Emma stood there, eyes wide, jaw dropping, staring at us in horror. The world seemed to freeze. Claudia pulled back, startled, but I could see the amusement and challenge dancing in her eyes. Emma's hands trembled as she clutched the edge of the counter, trying to process what she had just seen. I can explain," I stammered, my throat dry. But what could I possibly say? How could I explain that I had let myself be consumed by temptation, that I had betrayed the one person who loved me unconditionally? Emma's face crumpled, tears forming in her eyes. "I trusted you," she whispered, her voice breaking. "How could you do this with my own sister?" I had no answer. There was nothing I could say to undo the betrayal. Claudia, however, stood tall, unashamed. "It's not my fault," she said lightly, almost teasingly. "He wanted this as much as I did." Emma shook her head in disbelief and stormed out of the kitchen, leaving me trembling and guilty. Claudia smirked at me, a dangerous glint in her eye, before turning and walking away. I knew, at that moment, that nothing would ever be the same. My loyalty was shattered, my love for Emma wounded, and my desire for Claudia stronger than ever. I had crossed a line I could never uncross, and the consequences would be devastating. The days after the kitchen incident were unbearable. Emma barely spoke to me, her eyes filled with hurt and betrayal every time she glanced my way. I tried apologizing, tried explaining, tried begging for forgiveness, but words felt hollow compared to the damage I had done. I had shattered the trust of the person I loved most, and nothing could take it back. Claudia, meanwhile, seemed unaffected. She moved around the apartment with her usual confidence, teasing me subtly, making it impossible to forget our stolen moments. Part of me hated her for it. Part of me was addicted to the thrill. I felt trapped between guilt and desire, my heart torn in two directions. One evening, Emma confronted me. She stood in the living room, arms crossed, her voice trembling with anger and sorrow. I trusted you. I opened my heart to you, and you destroyed it, she said. How could you let this happen? I don't know. I admitted, my voice breaking. I wanted to stay loyal. I tried. But Claudia, she came to me. I didn't plan this. I never wanted to hurt you. Emma's eyes filled with tears, and I could see the betrayal cutting her deeply. Do you even love me? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. I do, I exclaimed, desperate. I love you more than anything. But I can't lie, I'm confused. I feel something I shouldn't, and I don't know how to stop it. Her face hardened. Then maybe love isn't enough. Maybe what you feel for her is stronger than what you feel for me. I wanted to deny it, to argue, but the truth was unbearable. I did feel something for Claudia, a dangerous, consuming desire that was impossible to ignore. And yet I loved Emma too. I loved her with everything I had, and the guilt of betraying her made my stomach twist in knots. Meanwhile, Claudia escalated her pursuit. She started leaving little notes, flirtatious messages on my phone, subtle touches that made it impossible to think clearly. She didn't care about boundaries or morality. She only cared about seduction. Every interaction with her was a war inside me, a battle between loyalty and temptation that I was losing more every day. Then the worst happened. Emma, desperate to protect herself and our relationship, reached out to Claudia directly. She confronted her sister in private, asking her to stop before things got worse. The conversation turned explosive. Claudia laughed, mocking the idea that she would back down. He wants me, she said simply. And you can't change that. Emma returned home that night, heartbroken, and told me everything. I felt my chest collapse under the weight of betrayal, not mine, but hers, in trying to protect me. Yet even as she pleaded with me to stay away from Claudia, I could feel Claudia's presence in my mind, whispering temptation, teasing, reminding me of every stolen touch and kiss. The tension reached its breaking point during another family dinner. Claudia was her usual charming self. Emma was icy and distant, and I sat between them, caught in the middle of a storm I had created. A single glance from Claudia, a subtle brush of her hand against mine, reignited desire in a way that made me weak. Emma's eyes found mine across the table, burning with pain. I can't do this, she whispered. She stood abruptly, leaving the room. And just like that, the fragile illusion of family unity shattered. Claudia leaned closer, her lips dangerously near my ear. See? I told you he wanted this. He can't resist me. I wanted to push her away, to scream, to run, but I couldn't. The desire, the temptation, had me in its grip. And yet, part of me was horrified at how far I had fallen. That night, I sat alone in the dark, torn apart. I had betrayed Emma, indulged in forbidden passion with Claudia, and destroyed the trust that had once been my world. I didn't know how to fix it, or if it could even be fixed. All I knew was that every choice I made from now on would have consequences I couldn't escape. The days that followed were unbearable. Emma avoided me entirely, her silence a constant reminder of my betrayal. Claudia, on the other hand, continued her games, pushing boundaries with every smile, every whispered word. I felt trapped between two impossible choices, given to desire or fight to save what I had broken. I knew I couldn't live like this. The guilt, the lust, the heartbreak, it was suffocating. I had to make a decision, no matter how painful. One evening, after a day that felt endless, I called Claudia into the living room. She entered with a confident smirk, expecting yet another stolen moment, but instead, I faced her with resolve. This ends now, I said firmly, my voice shaking with emotion. I can't do this anymore, not with you, not like this. I've betrayed Emma, and I've betrayed myself. I can't keep destroying everyone I care about. Claudia laughed softly, incredulous. So you're walking away? After everything? Yes, I said, standing tall despite the ache in my chest. I made a mistake, a terrible one, but I won't let it ruin me or her. You need to leave. For a moment, she looked at me, hurt and frustrated, but she eventually nodded. If that's what you want, don't make me regret believing in you, she said, her voice softer now. With that, she left, and I felt a strange mixture of relief and loss. The temptation was gone, but so was the thrilling passion that had consumed me. I sat alone, thinking about Emma, about everything I had risked and lost. The next day, I approached Emma. She was sitting on the balcony, staring out at the city lights, lost in thought. I knelt beside her, heart pounding. Emma, I said softly, I know I've hurt you in ways I can't undo. I've made the worst mistake of my life. But I love you. I've never stopped loving you. Please, if there's any part of you willing, let me make this right. She turned to me, tears glistening in her eyes. I don't know if I can ever forgive you, she whispered. But I still love you too. And I don't want to lose what we had. I need time. I nodded, understanding. Healing wouldn't happen overnight, but for the first time in weeks, there was a glimmer of hope. I had chosen loyalty over desire, and though it had cost me passion, it gave me a chance to rebuild trust and love. Weeks passed. I worked tirelessly to earn back Emma's trust, being patient, honest, and present. Claudia moved out, leaving the apartment and our lives behind. The storm of temptation and betrayal faded, replaced by the slow, steady process of mending what had been broken. It wasn't easy. There were moments when memories of Claudia's touch haunted me, when desire threatened to resurface. But every time it did, I remembered Emma's eyes, her hurt, her love, and I made the choice again. I chose loyalty. I chose love. In time, Emma smiled at me again, genuinely, without fear or suspicion. We laughed together, held hands, and slowly rebuilt the bond that had been shattered. The scars of betrayal remained, but they served as a reminder, a warning never to let desire overpower love, trust, and loyalty again. I had been caught between loyalty and desire, and I had almost lost everything. But in the end, I had chosen what truly mattered. And that choice, as difficult as it was, became the foundation for a stronger, deeper love, a love that could survive even the darkest temptations.